Why don't you teach us a tutorial then, since you know what the fuck you doing? What's up? It's Just Latasha. I am here hosting our new dissection series. I know I'm somewhere else. I know it looks different. I know stuff is going on, but check this out. I'm in the process of moving. I'm in the process of changing so much right now. So that'll affect the look, the feel, but whatever. We still on. You ain't say no more to work. We still on. New apartment, new show, new night. We in here. I want to say hello to the people that's in here. What's up, Alexis? I see A Barty. I see Adriana, a patron. I see B for Cheap, a patron. I see Jack, a patron. I see Iana, a patron. What's up, Loda? Ellie Luna, a patron. Crispy Nolan, what's up? Welcome. This room is a little smaller than usual. Shy Podcast, my moderator. What's up to Laura? Please check out the Shy Podcast. I thank her so much for holding me down show after show, night after night. And as you guys have also noticed, I am dissecting on a different night. We usually hear Mondays at 6, and that was because Insecure was on Sundays. But because now this dissection series follows I May Destroy You, the new HBO series created and starring Michaela Coel, that has been moved from Sundays to Mondays, which made this show have to move to Tuesdays. It's a whole thing. Let's welcome change. Let's not resist. Let's be a part of it. I would like to encourage the American audience to give our Black folks, the diaspora across the pond, a chance. Let them shine. Michaela Coel is brilliant. Fell in love with her with Chewing Gum on Netflix. She was also in what? She had a little gig in Star Wars. She was in Black Mirror, a really fire-ass episode in Black Mirror. This woman is brilliant. She also was writing huge articles while we were in between like this lull of her appearing on screen, and there was rumors that she was supposed to be developing and starring in like a Broadway show or some play or whatnot. So homegirl has been busy, and I want us to give her the same love and space and support and encouragement as we do our girl Issa Rae. There's room for all of us, and so I know it'll be it's not as big as a conversation as Insecure, but allow us to be the leaders. Okay, we are the leaders. We're going to support that woman. If you are not a patron as of yet, please become one. I do this dissection series, which would be every Tuesday until this show ends. But I'm also hosting a dissection workshop, and the first one is tomorrow. Why you keep saying that? Tomorrow. Wednesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. EST. We'll be going privately live on Zoom. We will be dissecting the feature film Hereditary, which is one of my favorites. I think it's a perfect movie. It is so in depth. You guys get to ask questions and be on video with me in real time so we can have a conversation. And we're going to make it fun, as we always do. And you guys also, as a Patreon, get access to Boozy Brunch Sundays, which is the private stream every Sunday at 3 o'clock. And a new tier on Patreon, the VIP access to Boozy Brunch Sundays, where you guys once a month get to host Boozy Brunch Sundays with me. We go through 4 to 5 topics every Sunday. We have a drink, we have an egg, we kick back, we have fun. But if you have VIP access to Boozy Brunch Sundays, you'll be chatting with me in real time for the playback. So people will see you and me, and we're gonna do the show together. I'm hella excited about it. We haven't done it before. I would like to do it this Sunday, but again, I'm moving. I gotta see if it all works out. Pending, okay? That's that. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already, JustLatasha. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already, JustLatasha404. And let's dive into this dissection. Now, may I destroy you? And I want to thank the Shy Podcast, aka Laura, for putting in all of the links in our chat box. May I Destroy You operates differently than we're used to on Insecure. Insecure visually layers the expansion of the story that the character's already telling us. And I May Destroy You doesn't quite do that. They lean totally into the story. They lean into emotional layers, and they lean into topical issues that we, the audience, are here to dissect. So this dissection series will operate differently than bringing down the set and the color and what they wearing. We got to bring our hearts. Are y'all ready to bring your heart? Can we do that? We're going to bring our hearts because we have a lot of topics to talk about. Now, before we get to episode 3, I realize I have not dissected episode 1 and 2. So real quick, Let's run through it. So Iconic is here. That's another patron. What's up? I was calling him Soyconic for mad long because I can't read. But I May Destroy You, episode 1, called Eyes, Eyes, Eyes. Let's do it. So we follow Michaela Coel's character. Her name is Arabella in the show. And Arabella has 2 roommates, one of them being her best friend, Terry. She also has a very close friend named Simon, and she is an aspiring writer, and they are located in London. She also has a love interest by the name of Biago, and we're going to talk about all these characters, but really we're following Arabella in this world. What's up, CJ? Another patron right there. How you doing? And so in episode 1, the pilot episode, Eyes, 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 we follow our Arabella, who is very emotionally disconnected. Okay. Hey, Just Nicole, I see you, boo. And we're watching this character go through an entire motion of self-sabotage. And we're going to talk about that. We're really going to talk about that. But we're watching her be broken, and she's rejecting love. She's procrastinating at work. And she's numbing herself with a plethora. Drugs, alcohol, wild parties, really living life on the edge, right? She's trying to disconnect from whatever is in here. And we open with a wound on her head. Now, injuries for characters represent an emotional wound. They're not physically hurt without reason. Even if they're in war and in action, usually when a character gets physically hurt, it represents an emotional wound. And it's not by mistake that this wound starts off on her head. Don't take me my little head wrap, Veronica. You like that right there? You like that? Okay, so Arabella is starting her journey and starting her story with a mental wound, and it keeps repetitively showing up, and this is going to drive everything that she goes through, everything that she's dealing with along the course of her story. So in her journey, what I think I'm seeing is Arabella fumbling through some imposter syndrome, which a lot of creatives, I don't know how many creatives I have here in the room, a lot of creatives meet imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. This room is too big. I don't belong here. They're going to find me out. I'm going to be discovered. I'm a hack. I'm not really as good as I think I am. And there's this fear for a lot of creators that we're going to get found out, right? Like somebody's going to find out we're not as good as we're pretending to be. And it's one of those deep-seated fears. And we're watching Arabella kind of have this disconnect between the way her fans meet her and how she shows up at work and in the room and how she can't quite write and get her work out. And this disassociating is really, really fucking her up. She has a problem in the mind. And it's just going to expand and manifest in different ways. So that's what we're going to be seeing. Simon, the black character who has a beautiful girlfriend. Now, what I thought I was watching at first was black men not be over-sexualized. We see Simon rejecting sex. His girlfriend wants to have a threesome. She wants to go out. She wants to date. She wants him to be free and date around. And he's really denying it. I'm like, this is different. Since when do a man not want more women? since when is that? He had me in the first quarter. I ain't even gonna lie. He really did have me in the first quarter. I'm not gonna lie. His girlfriend is this, I'll say bisexual for the lack of knowledge on her full sexuality, but she appears bisexual. She's asking for a threesome, and he's denying it. But what we find out is that the woman that his girlfriend wanted a threesome with, he was seeing behind her back anyway. Let me tell you about niggas. How many times do I have to tell y'all about niggas? These niggas, CJ said, and Simon had the nerve. Andrew said, I don't trust them, don't like them. These niggas, Cameron said, trifling. This is an important conversation for all of us to have. And this comes down to patriarchy, sexism. Men try and control women's sexuality even when it works in their favor. And I've heard this from personal women in my life say, I told my boyfriend we can have an open relationship. I told my boyfriend he can go and date. I told my boyfriend we can have other women in this space. They say, no, I don't want that, and then go do the thing. They hurt themselves just as long as they can control the narrative of a woman's sexuality, even when it costs them. So we're seeing him, somebody already said the word, gaslight his girlfriend when she kind of accuses him real quick of like, okay, well, I guess, you hitting her up anyway. And he has a big old fit. You know when men get mad? I mean, they hiding something because you don't even really be mad. When they get mad like that, they hiding something. So he's pretending that he's so offended, but she hit the nail on the head. Yes, he is hitting that girl up. Her name is Alyssa, the beautiful, bald head, dark-skinned woman, important physical representation of Black beauty. And he pretends he's so upset that she actually guessed what's right, that she ends up apologizing. Now, I want to fight everybody personally. I don't know what deal y'all are on. I personally want to fight everybody right now. And when they get to a date, Simon, the girlfriend, the side piece unicorn, Alyssa, and the cousin visiting in town, the cousin admits that he and Simon practiced manipulating women in order to pick them up and date them. This is the grooming that men do until they're well into their adulthood, until they're well into healthy monogamous relationships. They're still always anchoring manipulation and sexism in these spaces when it comes to romantic relations with women. It's still always pigeonholed in an emotional violence when there's supposed to be love here. That's Simon. I want to fight him so bad. And before we close out, for episode 1, we learned that Terry is an aspiring actress. It's not quite working out in her favor. And Arabella's having these flashes of a man in a doorway, right? She's having that flash. She doesn't quite know what it means yet, but there's something in her head, and she keeps referring to it like that. There's something in her head. And I want to pay attention to one of the physical anchors of Arabella's emotional state is her monster jacket. Her monster jacket is meaning so much to me in this story. And I imagine it to mean it's the mask over her identity. It's the scream and the constant rage that Black women can often have, but we're not allowed to let out. So while she's walking around with this emotional wound on her head, this visible wound on her head, and she has this jacket that is screaming, and this red, passionate, this energetic jacket, but she's operating so softly, right? That juxtaposition meant everything for me. How we're wounded and we want to scream, but we have to fit in with all the boxes that society puts us in. Let's move on to episode 2. Someone is lying. Let me just check in and see what y'all are saying in the chat. Thank you, Laura. She said Kat is Simon's girlfriend. So y'all know I don't be knowing no names. Her name is Kat because I was going to refer to her as the girlfriend the entire time. And yep, and we're going to talk about the picture that keeps falling. CJ says, has anyone else been roped into witnessing a guy friend cheat on his girlfriend just as the girl the second part of that sentence got a little weird. But has anyone ever witnessed their guy friend cheating on their girlfriend? I personally haven't. I don't know what I would do. I would probably hold the secret too because I don't want to be up in that mess, and that's exactly what Arabella said. Yes, Chris, we're going over episodes 1 and 2 right now. We are starting 2. Whew, someone is lying. Someone is lying. So we open up this episode where Arabella is wearing this monster jacket. Something happened to her. There's something to fight. There's something to say. There's a lot of emotional resistance that she's not allowed to physically let out onto the world, but she's wearing this big old monster jacket, which I love. And her memory continues to and as a Shy Podcast just said, her memory continues to have this picture in her bedroom fall off the wall. And it's a photo of, I believe, someone correct me here, was it male anatomy? It looks like just like a male body. And every time she thinks of this traumatic event of assault that she hasn't quite pieced as belonging to her, there's this man pounding away, right? Every time that flash or that night comes up to her, there's this photo. Okay, Shy Podcast confirms. This photo of the male anatomy falls off the wall. It's just like this anchor that just keeps happening every time she remembers this memory. And here's the thing that a lot of victims do, and this is just what I've gathered from listening to a ton of stories by victims. Arabella is refusing to acknowledge the assault as a memory, because if she accepts it, she has to step into the realm that she is now officially a victim. She becomes that girl, right? And that girl is always full of blame. She shouldn't have been drinking. She shouldn't have been out. She shouldn't have been out late. She shouldn't have trusted her friend. She shouldn't have took that drink. How come she was doing this? How come she was doing that? And all of a sudden, it's this rain of it's your fault comes down on you. So this disassociation from the assault even happening is dire, because she cannot let that break in. She cannot be that girl. She cannot assume that position. And she refuses it. The moment she accepts it as a memory, she has to accept it as reality, that it is something that happened to her, and she cannot get there. It's also a huge disconnect from a woman with their body. Something happened to your body without your consent. And so now, who are you? And who is this body that you're maneuvering around with that you're having a disconnect from? And that's a major point to attend to when we're speaking about victims of sexual assault. I'm trying not to say the R word, because once YouTube hears it, it's a wrap for me. We ain't trying to do it. We ain't trying to do it. Something interesting here happens with Terry. Terry is Arabella's best friend. And she is gearing up for this audition, feminist beauty campaign that's super, super, super important to her. Very important to her. She's been preparing for it for 2 episodes now. But once Arabella is trying to piece together this blackout from last night, she 2 times pushes this huge audition back. What's up, Damien? I see you. And it's a weird thing when someone is willing to hurt themselves for you. And Terry is willing to hurt herself and her opportunities for Arabella. Now, in the end of episode 2, it's revealed that Terry left Arabella while they were in Italy. And Terry is like holding guilt for that. So I'm thinking about these layers where you feel indebted to someone. You're carrying this guilt. You're carrying this shame. You're carrying this apology that's gone unsaid. And mostly it's gone unsaid because you hadn't admitted that you may have let your friend down. There's more guilt for women. If something happened to your friend and you weren't there to protect her, it's also your fault. It's bullshit. But these are the things that we take on, right? So I'm thinking, why would somebody hurt themselves and hurt the possibility of accessing their dreams for their friend? What would it cost? A. Barty says she's dealing with imposter syndrome too. That's interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Let's talk about this racist feminist beauty campaign. The black ladies be running away from white feminism, and here's exactly why. Because white ladies tend to think when they're creating a space for all women, they forget that they're bringing racism in the room with them. They absolutely forget. And this is exactly what happens with Terry, where these white women emotionally assault her via her hair. They weaponize Terry's hair against her for something that's supposed to celebrate all beauty, right? And if and when Terry doesn't play by the white women's rules, who gets hurt? Terry. Terry's the one that gets cut. So you're supposed to have this empowering woman space, but you begin her audition by violating her. Take off your wig. What is your hair like? Can we see? Are you going to bring the wig with you next time? Can you put water on it? Can you? Ellie Luna says, can you take off your wig? I have been in that exact situation. And then when she put a boundary up, she loses access to this very audition. She had a threesome once, though. Was that racy enough for you? No, I'll get on out of here. Excuse me. We also learned in episode 2 that Simon has been cheating on his girlfriend for 6 Months again after Kat, his girlfriend, gave him permission to be open, to go date without her, to go explore women. And I want to talk about Alyssa, the unicorn, threesome, beautiful, bald head, dark skinned god. I want to talk about Alyssa real quick. Arabella is beginning to come to terms with the idea that an assault happened to her body. And she's trying to figure out who is at fault. And she first comes up to the fact that Simon's the common denominator between the party and Alyssa. And maybe, just maybe, he might be a little suspect. But this offends Alyssa so much. How dare you even suspect Simon? How dare you? Right? And I think about the layers that women have to fight for their sexuality. You have Terry, who wants a threesome. You have Arabella, who might have been assaulted. You have Kat, who wants to have an open relationship and wants to explore bringing other partners in. And then you have Alyssa, who finds power in her sexuality by crossing another person's boundaries, by crossing another woman's boundaries. You are assisting and invalidating. You are assisting and invalidating the boundaries of someone else's relationship. Shy Podcast says she doesn't want to be the victim either. Listen. Listen. She has found power in being the other. And you have to think about that, the type of women who protect possible abusers, Nicki Minaj. The women who protect these kind of people. Well, since I know him and he ain't do that to me, that means he could have never did that to you. And I know him and he's nice and he would never. Those type of women are poison. Poison. You make it hard to fight. You make it hard to stand up for yourself. You make it hard to come out. You make it hard to protect yourself. Poison. And she is dragging and reading Arabella down for what? For what? Because he's sneaking around late night with you. That's where you get your power from? Let's reassess, ma'am. All that bald-headed beauty for what? Let's reassess quickly. Quickly. We don't have the time. CJ says yes, and totally lashed out at the mere suggestion she might be associated with an abuser. And a ton of women are just like it, down to the grandmammies and the mamas and everybody else. Ooh, Nia said the pick-me's. Beat for Cheap says, it's something about being the other woman. They find that it's power because they almost consider themselves like a drug their partner cannot escape. He may be with you, but he come to see me every night. Yeah, that one. You right. That one, Beat for Cheap. Whew. So, we have this really powerful emotional moment where Arabella comes to terms with the fact that this is in fact a memory of an assault on her body, in her head. She meets someone who has gone through this many times down at the precinct, like, oh, it's your first time? I done been here, I done this a whole bunch of times. Normalizing how often it happens to women, that you can be a victim more than once. Some women it's happened to so frequently, they expect it. And that is such a sickness. It is really such a sickness. And watching that emotional break for Arabella, that moment where she meets the reality that this has happened to her, that moved me. That absolutely moved me. And I love that they're mixing up the timelines here, because we wonder why Terry is at such grace to Arabella, putting her to sleep, making sure she's okay, following her home, asking about her phone. Like, she cares so much because this thing happened to her, and something happened in Italy as well. And there's a little blame between the friends. Something happened in Italy as well. Well, let's get on the flight, y'all. We gotta know what happened in Italy. Let's go. Y'all ready to go? Let's go to Italy in episode 3. Don't forget the C. Zoe says, I think Simon did this to Terry. Because they're not friends anymore, even though Simon and Terry were friends first. And they did mention that. Wow. And they're not quite friends anymore. But Terry did call Simon when Arabella wouldn't on the street. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. JJ got on a flight. Let's go. JJ got on a flight. We gotta go. We in Italy now. Don't forget to see episode 3, the reason why we are here this evening. Right, Courtney. They're not quite close, but she was cool enough to call Simon for Arabella when Arabella wasn't calling. So there's something to discover there. There's definitely something to discover there. So this is a flashback episode. We meet Biago, the gentleman who opened the pilot episode, saying goodbye to Arabella while she leaves Italy and heads back to London. But Terry and Arabella are on an expensed trip, an expense trip to Italy. And these are just some of the perks. Let's watch these girls get some perks. So, I had such anxiety in this episode, and I'm going to wrap up towards the end why my anxiety was just, they had me for the entire 29 minutes. Here we go. First off, I want to start by saying, and I said this in one of my old videos when I reviewed Girls Trip, I don't mind watching black girls on TV have fun with party drugs. If the boys can do Pineapple Express and How High and the Hangover 1, 2s, and 3s, I don't mind watching black girls have fun with party drugs and drinking and going hand. Like, that doesn't bother me. And I think when we start doing we gotta represent and be good and we can't be doing all, like, let's state the obvious. Crackheads, it's a no, right? Crackheads, throw them out. We don't need more crackheads on TV. But drugs? You know what I mean? Like, drugs? You know what I mean? So, I like seeing them just let the wigs down, have fun, running around the streets, be crazy, doing what I like that. That doesn't bother me at all. Yes, Miss Andrews. She said, I was so concerned about their safety, though, and this is why my anxiety was riding the entire time, and we're going to talk about that. I also love seeing black women's sexuality without trauma, because that exists. That very much exists. Black women's sexuality without trauma, and very, very, very real images of womanhood on TV. Michaela Coel is the one and the two. She is the one and the two, and we're going to see why. So my anxiety starts here because we have opened up seeing an assault on Arabella's body, and now when we're watching two black women in a foreign place outside, me as a black woman and as women, we on edge, right? We're like, when is it going to happen? And we also got this little clue, like, Terry left you in Italy and something happened, so we're waiting for this something to happen. And they have all these really scary parts that women know is scary. And if you're not one of us, it's going to completely pass you by. And it's these moments where, like, Terry's walking down an alley late night by herself. That's not safe. The girls are alone in a foreign place late at night. The women are accepting drinks from men. Arabella's being followed home. Terry's being watched by two men. These are all recipes for assault. This is what women are taught to defend themselves against in order to not be assaulted. And this without saying a word. It was like that moment in Get Out when the cops showed up. And if you weren't black, you didn't understand why the cops arriving was the scary part. Watching women have fun in Italy was the scary part. And if you're not a woman, you would have missed it. These are all recipes for assault. And the gag is nothing happened. And just like that, without saying a word, they taught you what it felt like to be a woman and how we lived the entire time. We are on high alert defense mode all the time, just so nothing could happen. But then this can tend to reinforce these biases that it is your fault for putting yourself in that position. You're that girl now. You shouldn't have, couldn't have, wouldn't have. If you would have just did, then that wouldn't have happened. We're already programmed like this. Why is she out late? Why is she drinking? She don't know that man. Why is she? And we're doing the blame that we're asking people to not do, right? But these, in reality, are all the recipes for assault. So Whew. Should I just skip to Arabella? Let me just mention these two characters real quick. Let's talk about Terry's threesome, because it didn't have to end like that, but it did. Yeah, talking about the period. I already see language I don't want to see. I'm already seeing language I don't want to see. Terry in the beginning says that this is the bed, this is the moment. She wants to put that bed to work, and she goes out and she demands a threesome. She's looking for a threesome. But here's the thing. Sometimes women's sexuality empowerment still works as an anchor to be used by men. Sometimes the choices we make to empower ourselves, to be liberated sexually, men use it to still like take something from us. Don't play with me, boy. God. Terry was supposed to leave that moment feeling like she won something. She did something for herself. She went out and got something. She conquered her sexuality. But these two dudes going out high-fiving as if they won her, and like this little American broad. I hit her up with my Mountain Dew line and we got her, boom, and that was easy. And now she feel a little cheap. Boy, I'll hit you in your teeth. Boy, I will slap you in the teeth. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Yes, Nia said, I didn't realize that it was planned. So I watched the episode twice. When the two gentlemen left Terry's room, it did feel as if the gentlemen knew each other before and that it was a plan, because they're looking at each other with familiarity. They're like winking. They're like, yeah, we got another one. What's up? Notch in the belt. But when Terry first arrives in front of the bar, the Italian gentleman is already sitting with and chatting with another gentleman. But I don't think that was the same guy that ended up in the bed. The second guy that was in the bed was a blonde, but the one that he was originally talking to was a brunette, dark beard, dark hair. So I was like, I don't think that was the same guy, but obviously like it was a, Yvette says something interesting. Let's have this conversation. Yvette Henry says it was planned and therefore it is a form of assault. I have to change the word for YouTube. It is a form of assault. Guys, do we agree? Even if a woman consents, if it was a premeditated plan and situation, is that now considered an assault? What do different forms of assault look like? CJ says that was the same guy. I felt it was, but looking at them, they look different. One was a brunette and one was a blonde by the end. So I was like, I don't know. Zoe says they used her to fulfill a fantasy. The very black girl we want to taste. Fantasy. You guys agree? Bida says yes, because under false pretenses. Ooh, A. Barty says I was iffy about that because it seems predatory. Emerald says they preyed on her. Jocelyn says they deceived her. Jocelyn, another Patreon. Wow, you guys. Great points. Great point. Shy Podcast says, yes, all information should be given. Nia says, yes, it's a manipulation. Whoo, setting that trap. They set a trap. Wow. Look what we discover here. Dissections, huh? You dissect me, I dissect you. Look what we discover in this space. Wow, that was powerful. A great point that I would have easily missed. Thank you. You guys are incredible. Let's move on to Biago, the benign drug dealer. Let's move on. The benign drug dealer, the well-to-do drug dealer, the drug dealer who ain't mean it like that. Now, Biago does something where he totes the line between nice and creep. Okay? He's doing things that follow, again, these recipes for assault. And as a woman, we're just hoping he's not one of the monsters. Now, he is staying with Arabella while she's waiting for Terry outside the club. He's the only man with her. It's late night. They're out in the street. Arabella's got a dress on. That's not safe. He's following her. He's picking up her keys. He's picking up her passports. He's making sure he sees where she lives. And right here again, without saying a word, we have proven yet another point. Assaulters and nice guys look exactly the same. See, some of y'all think he was nice and some of y'all think he was a creep. Look how we can't tell. Assaulters and nice guys look exactly the same. And this is one of the most frustrating points that I have with men about assault. My man would never do that. My friend would never. I hang out with dudes that I'm a nice guy. How come I'm a nice guy? You don't give me a chance, or you guys only want a-holes. Y'all don't want no nice guys. Women ain't stupid. We're not going after the boogeyman. We're going after nice guys, and then they turn into the boogeyman when our backs are turned. Nice guys and creeps look exactly the same, and this show so effortlessly proves that point. He was tap dancing in line, y'all said. They said y'all look the same. People agree that he was a creep anyway. Ellie says he seemed odd from the very first time I saw him in episode 1. We can't trust you niggas. That's really what the T and the I and the P is. We cannot trust none of you. Because we can't tell the difference, okay? We cannot tell the difference. I have to ask y'all another question. Do men have standards? And here's why I'm asking this. Let's really think about this, okay? As a bisexual woman, I'm very picky on the vaginas I engage with. Here's the thing. Arabella vomited. She was on a heavy flow of the period. She was sweaty from dancing all night, dancing pad out. Christina said, me too. And yet, he is still more than willing to have sex with her. Didn't request a mouthwash. Didn't request a shower. LB said she didn't shower. Like, bro, do y'all go after anything? So I kind of said, nasty. Do y'all go after anything? And what was up with him? Okay, so is it him embracing the full expression of a woman's body? He's playing in her period. He's literally playing in the excrements of her period. Is he embracing the full happenings of a female body? Or will niggas just do anything? Like, what is Biago? Because he was ready for it all. He didn't care what she'd been through. Nisa says, I was confused. It looked like if she annoyed him, but this episode, he was all into her. She annoyed him episode 1. So yeah, this episode 3 was their origin story. So we're starting from their beginning. Episode 1 was them in present time. See, Neo says he saw an opportunity. Sharika, he was playing the long game. I think he's also a creep. After everything her body was doing that night, I gotta go home. You made it home safe. I gotta get out of here. There's no way. There's no way. Caroline says, like my friend have done stuff on their period, but seeing it was so grossed out. Don't be playing with the uterine lining like that. Let's just call a thing a thing. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. Sex in the period, I'm not gonna sit here and like judge. That's nasty. I don't think it's nasty. I don't think it's nasty. But how he was engaging in the menstruation excrements. Sharika said, took the panties off with the pad still attached. They don't care. And when you're mature, you don't care, but you don't go diving in menstrual excrements. You don't. So I kind of said, I was eating nachos when he picked that up. I almost threw. Okay. All right, guys. We've got to move on, please. Let's please move on. We can't. Let's go. Let's move on. He did. He took the tampon out. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Arabella's period. Now, and I want to speak about her period because I think there are layers to seeing blood in film, and I wanted to look that up and I wanted to dissect that. Seeing blood in film and how blood appearing on and from Arabella's body plays into her emotional state throughout this story. So Arabella's bleeding. And give us 1 second. Hi. So first, she was bleeding from the head, and then she was bleeding from the body. So I wanted to look up the symbolism of blood in movies, and this is what I found, and this is stemming from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, when they have that iconic scene of blood flowing in the elevator. And someone's review said this: the loss of blood makes one weak. To bleed out indicates a slow death. The blood flowing, gushing from the elevator represents life pouring out, leaving the body, draining life. The real fear this scene evokes, the real horror it conveys, is the dread of emptiness. It is the fear of the void, the creeping anxiety of the inevitability of nothing. Or to put it another way, death. So I was thinking about her experiences with her bleeding. What are you guys saying? What's happening in the chat? What are you guys saying? You guys are saying some weird things. Okay. She's bleeding from the body while she's taking a cocktail of drugs and is having casual sex. And the way she is using fun and wild times out are ways in which she is numbing herself, killing herself. Both elements of blood on her body relate to the mental wound, and the mental wound will affect the way it physically shows up on her body and the way she kills her body, if that made any sense. So let me say that again. Both elements of blood on her body relate. Her mental wound will affect the way she shows up and manifests the physical wound, the way she is being shown to kill her body. However, with this blood, she is also setting her body free, and she's doing that to the viewing audience, because as women, we know how private our periods are. And watching the way she's handling a pad and her tampon and all that, this is everyday mundane stuff to women. This is stuff we see all the time, but to see it on TV was like, she wasn't supposed to be doing that, right? This is something that is supposed to be like so secret, and when she's doing it so freely on TV, you got to ask, why is it so secret? This is something that every woman deals with monthly. Why is it such like a don't show that? How could we? And it makes you think of all the ways we police and hide the natural state of our bodies, that we're already policing ourselves. Yes, Zoe, come on. Zoe's on it tonight. Zoe says, right, and there was blood on the hospital gown of the woman that she met at the precinct, and she wore it like it was a part of her. We see this big red blood stain on this assault victim next to Arabella, and this woman couldn't care less, but it is this gory, violent thing that we have to stare at. And as Arabella's apologizing to this woman for whatever happened to her body, the woman couldn't care less, right? Something died there, right? Something happened there. Something died there. And so I want to come back to the way we see blood on Arabella's body. We see blood on her body in two ways. When she's assaulted and she gets that wound on her head, and when she's in full control and respected in a sexual situation, when she has blood falling from her body due to her period, right? And it's so ironic that the heaviest of blood is when she's absolutely safe. So when she goes through a trauma experience, she has this small wound. When she's safe and expressing herself and going on this journey with a man that could have been violent if he wanted to, but she was absolutely safe, that's when we see the most blood falling from her body. So I thought that was a really interesting twist of events. Was she really in control? You know what? Seeing how wasted she was on the way home, where she couldn't control her body and her thoughts, compared to how calm and reserved she was in the apartment, whether or not that realistically portrays drugs and how long it stays in your system, to me, it appeared she had more control over her decisions, and she was making those decisions in the safety of her home. So when I'm saying in control is that this is something that she's choosing, right? She's not being coerced. He's not begging for her. She's not out of sorts, and he's just kind of maneuvering and manipulating the situation. He asks her if she's sure, and she's making all of the movements and the choices and the verbal consent to engage in him that way. That's the meaning of control that I'm seeing. Ooh, the Trini Jane says, hurting yourself is worse than when others hurt you. Let's talk about that red dress real quick. Let's talk about that red dress. You know, I was watching, and it's so funny because on HBO Max, they actually promoted this along with this show. I was watching On the Record documentary where an ex-music executive, Drew Dixon, recounted her stories of assault with Russell Simmons and L.A. Reid. And Drew Dixon, after being assaulted and violated by these men, referred to her body as a crime scene. She referred to her body as a crime scene. So I'm looking at Arabella with this red dress. She has these emotional wounds. The assault is on the way. She's hurting herself with these drugs and these partying. And she's wearing this red dress. It's almost like she is the target and the danger is coming. But also, again, this is reenacting this bias that we all may already hold, is that who deserves the assault? Is she a target? Is she attracting danger? Is she being unsafe and not being smart and not avoiding assault like the rest of us would? Like, you know what I mean? Like this red dress is this blaring scar of a crime can happen here if she's not careful. Hmm. Don't forget the sea. She and her new love interest, Biago, go to the sea after they remove sex from their experience with each other. So I remember one of the t-shirts that she wore in the first, I think actually episode 2, where she's literally wearing a mountain and a sea on her shirt. And she's at the sea with Biago where a sex and assault did not occur. But she's wearing the sea after her assault while she's actively avoiding speaking to and engaging Biago, who's calling her over and over and over again. So I was wondering, after this assault, does she no longer feel good enough or clean enough? Let's be careful of the words we use, but I'm using these intentionally because we have this blaming mindset, you know, not we, but victims can usually have a blaming mindset after an assault. Does she no longer feel good enough or clean enough to engage in a man like Biago? And by avoiding him, is she punishing herself by omitting a healthy relationship? Let's see what y'all saying in the chat. Let's see what y'all saying in the chat. Christine says, I don't trust Kwame. He's shady as hell. Listen, we don't trust no man in this show. We don't trust no man in this show. And just like that, if and when they decide, they can go from friend to monster real quick. Another day in the life of a woman. Another day in the life. Lotus says their relationship wasn't good. It's not based on anything, but this is out of the options that she has. This is what she's Beat for Cheap says she definitely blames herself because he says, do not call me when you hurt yourself, after he tries to tell her to stop using. Miss Andrews says, I think so because she was all about Biago from the beginning. She had her guard up with him though. She truly did. Mara says, the men in this show are all suspects. Simon Shady, of course. Lotus says he couldn't even say he would miss her. They both have extreme guards up with each other. Absolutely. Courtney says, I think she's embarrassed because she thinks it's her fault. She was assaulted because she was on drugs, and she'll think Biago will think so too. That blaming mentality. Enter the chat. Enter the chat. Shy Podcast. Laura says he has this savior complex. Yes, episode 3 is before the assault. So here's a theme that I'm sensing in this show. Here's a theme that I'm picking up. Women are always in danger, and everyone is a suspect. The best friend, the one who might have could have been the assaulter, the one who was hanging out with the assaulter, the best friend who just doesn't get it and doesn't see the assault as a big deal or misses the signs of an assault haven't had happen or could happen. There's a language that women have that men are just not keyed in on because there is no fear of danger. They don't fear the things that we fear. So women can have this subtext conversation with each other, and a man will just be in a room and be like, so your audition sucked, huh? I guess is that what we talking about? Like, just have no idea. They just have no idea what's even going on. You can be in danger from a friend's friend. You can be in danger from the harmless dudes. And Black women are usually in danger or have many instances of danger or these weaponized instances at the white corporate environments, right? Terry has gone through this racial gaslighting during her auditions. Arabella has to pitch her ideas to these 2 white people who trying to support her, but don't quite get her. But she's not quite showing up to give them anything to use, but they believe in her. But is it about money or is it about her actual work? There's these balances that we always have to like be defensive of and see whether or not we're actually protected in these spaces. But meanwhile, Simon's doing well at his job. He seems to be sitting at the table. Simon's at the table, right? Doing well at his job. I think that was an important, very, very slick thing that happened for us to know. Very slick thing that happened. So, I may destroy you. The theme. If you don't keep your guard up in all angles, you're up to be destroyed. You will assault others. You will be assaulted. And sometimes you assault yourself. So, before we get out of here, I'll leave you guys with one last question. When and where are Black women allowed to exhale in full safely? I would like to thank y'all for being here. I'm gonna read a last few comments. Read the last few comments before we sign out, but I thank y'all for being here. I hope I say this right. Lay's K's. Biago may have felt bad for even giving her the drugs. Now you got feelings after you took all the money. I can't say your name. HG says, can we talk about Terry's assault? She had the threesome under false pretenses and did not know what the men had plotted. I think you joined late, baby. We fully dissected that and went through that together. And it was a powerful, powerful discussion with the brilliant room that we're in. Y'all are saying we got safe spaces with each other. B-Dot says, ain't no exhale. So Iconic says, alone in our own spaces. And Yvette says, I think it's slick that Simmons misses is light-skinned considering his evident success. You're trying to keep me on for another half hour? I ain't got the time. And on that note, I thank you guys for being here. Please consider becoming a patron today. For $5, you guys get an extra live stream every Sunday. If you guys want that live stream VIP access, that is $15. You guys can co-host a boozy brunch Sunday with me on Zoom to be live streamed for the rest of the patrons. And tomorrow, I will be dissecting one of my favorite feature films by Ari Aster, Hereditary. Please purchase that on Patreon and join me tomorrow as I dissect the entire film. We're gonna have such a good time, a lot of learning to do. If you're not following me on social media, do so now. JustLatasha on Instagram, JustLatasha404 on Twitter. And I will not have an 8 p.m. show this Thursday. I hope you guys enjoyed the last 8 p.m. show I did with Uchechi and Simi Moonlight, discussing J. Cole and No Name. Very, very, very powerful conversation. So allow that to hold you over for this week, because I'm moving and I won't have the time to do the 8 p.m. show this Thursday, but I hope to see you all for Boozy Brunch Sunday. Again, Boozy Brunch Sunday is a patron-only exclusive. Thank you to everyone who is here. Thank you to my patrons who show up each and every time. And thank you to the Shy Podcast, my moderator, Laura. I love you guys so much. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.